Hey guys, it's Angelique Bastille, and welcome to the Female Passion Project podcast. Today I have a special guest, my cousin Bree Quiachon, and she just graduated business, fashion, and marketing. And we're just going to take a little journey on her career journey thus far and kind of how she's just trying to figure out life like the rest of us. So, yeah, Bree, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. Speak up.
Sorry, this is so awkward because this is the first interview I'm ever doing, so bear with us. We're still trying to figure it out. But yeah, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Over this little webcam service. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Bree, and yeah, I just graduated from Columbia College Chicago with my degree in fashion business and marketing. And yeah, I'm also just trying to figure out my damn life right now. Not really know what I'm doing, but we can kind of just walk
It's okay,
through.
neither do I. I'm in the
Yeah.
Philippines, so I don't know what I'm doing either, so that's normal.
Yeah, and I'm currently moved back in the suburbs with my mom. Um, work part time at Export Fitness at the spa, and currently at an unpaid internship for a tech startup. But we can go more into detail of that later. But yeah, we're just trying to walk through the process of what it's like to be in your 20s and just figure out your career.
Yeah, and I think it's like we're at a point where we just graduated college and a lot of people, especially in the media, talk about, "Oh, I have a full-time job in New York" or some shit like that, and like that's not like normal. Like I feel like most people right now are just in a weird in between. So like it's good that we're talking about it because I feel like not many people talk about this weird in between stage. So
Yeah, and no one really prepares you for what post grad life really is. I mean, some people get lucky and get a full time job and land that right away, and then others, like, I mean, you just left for the country and we're all just trying to figure it out, or you're balancing a million jobs and just trying to hustle it out right now. But it feels weird to be in between stages because I've always felt like I've had plans and I have goals, but I always felt like I had something coming for me. Like I always knew what the next steps are, and it's weird not to have like an everyday schedule and know what's like to come, I guess. I'm always running around and I'm commuting half my days and then all over again, and it really sucks, but it's okay because it's all sacrifice and it's all gonna be worth it is what I keep
and
telling myself.
you're hustling, so it's okay. So take a little bit of backtrack because I just want people to know like your story and where you're coming from and where you hopefully want to go and where you will go. Um, but can you just tell us about how like what your first job was and like how you decided to go to Columbia slash major in business, fashion business and marketing? And then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. After listening to your first podcast and like growing up, we both kind of had like the same path, I guess, because we both started in retail. We both started around like 17, 16 years old. I started at this store called Maurice's. They're like an off branch to like Loft and Taylor and like Justice. So they're all like sister stores. I did that when I was 17, 16 years old. I met my first manager there, who I'm still really good friends with. She's still one of my mentors that I would say, and I use all the time as a good like networking. She actually lives in Milwaukee now. Her name was Quinn Karsten. She was the reason why I kind of got into fashion. I remember being like a sophomore, junior, and like that's when everyone started figuring out like what they kind of wanted to go to school for and where they wanted to apply. And I was just like, I'll just go to community college. And I planned on doing like occupational therapy, which is like really nothing what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be a nurse like everyone in our family didn't want
It's
to be.
just the Filipino thing that everyone
Yeah,
wants you to do is go to medicine, and we both
exactly. And I
didn't do that.
different. That wasn't nursing. And then I realized I got like a 2 on my AP psychology test. So that shows probably
It's
should
okay.
not. of that.
I took like all AP classes and I think I got like 1-4 in AP
Yeah,
Psych. But everything else I got literally twos
yeah,
and it was just
for
pointless.
sure. For sure. But I started there. It was also kind of like the way you said your boutique experience was, with like starting from the when the person walks through, or the customer like walks through the door, you want to sell like an experience. And we called these customers lives at the time, I remember. And you kind of just like walk through the store with them. You don't want to be too salesy, but you want to build a relationship and a friendship. And I remember being so uncomfortable and super awkward. And this was obviously my first job. And I'm really glad that I started at a store like that wasn't like, I mean, you started at Hollister, like Abercrombie, like those stores, like people don't really care about the experience. And I'm glad that that's somewhere where I started, because that's someone who you trust right when you walk through the door and they're like, oh, they care. And like, I've always been into fashion, but I think that's where everything like kind of stemmed off from, like why I applied to the school I applied to, and just like where I am right now, because the customer experience, I guess like sales has been in my blood for a while now too, but it kind of started from there. You helped these lives or like customers at the time, like start picking clothes out from the on floor experience to like the fitting room experience, I guess. And we never made commission, but we always had like, I
Sales
guess,
goals.
competitions going on and sales
Yeah.
goals. So
Mhm.
we just had to meet those. And I remember being temporary and a seasonal employee for them, and they ended up hiring me like part-time, full-time, whatever. And I was doing that while I was in school, and I stayed with them until I graduated from high school. And Quinn was actually like a really great mentor to have, because she was my first manager. She actually didn't end up finishing school, but she was always hustling, always trying to like challenge herself, and she definitely was the reason why I am the way I am. I feel like because I was always trying to challenge myself,
Mhm.
and I'm always learning, and I'm still learning even today, and I'm sure we all are, but she's the reason why I am so interested in fashion. Like, I feel like my sales skills for sure stemmed off from her. But I started there, went to school. I actually applied to Columbia like the last minute. I was gonna do like ECC and kind of just like figure out my gen eds. That's when I knew I didn't want to like do OT. I applied to Columbia because A, it was a free application, and I kind of already did some research on it. I planned on transferring there like after I finished community college, but I was just like, fuck it, whatever, did it without telling my parents. And then I got accepted in like whenever everyone starts getting like their acceptance letters in like April or whatever before graduation. And I got a really good scholarship for like academics or whatever, and then ended up telling them, and we worked something out. And that's when everything was really weird at the time, because that's when my parents were still getting divorced, so it was just like a lot of like middleman in between trying to figure everything out. And just finished graduating high school. And high school, I remember that, oh my God, growing up in a private school, that curriculum for like the grade point average and just like the
So
scores
hard.
graded
I
for
went
that.
from a public school to a private school, so I was like, whoa, this is really
Yeah,
hard.
I remember like 93 to 100 was an A. That was rough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went
That's how I
from,
was in college and I like didn't get A's at all.
yeah.
I got a few,
So you
but
know how that goes. But like at the end of the day, I feel like those grades don't really matter as much, like how you take on the learning experiences and putting yourself out there. And clearly that the grades really didn't matter as much. I mean, I went to art
I
school,
mean,
but I still did really well when I went
I
to
feel like at the end of the day, most like super successful business entrepreneur people either are like dropouts or they just like
don't
I
have
feel
a
like a lot of times in society, a lot of people correlate like grades with like the type of person you are. And I feel like in reality, like once you get out of school, no one actually cares about your grades or your GPA. And it's just more so about like your personality, the hard work, the hustle that you put into whatever you want to do. And I feel like the most successful people are the people that are just like pushing themselves outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah, totally. And just coming from like a traditional Filipino family, your parents always push you to, they see the degree as if you succeeded in life, I guess. And
Mm,
some people, school isn't for everyone. Obviously, like your brother didn't even like finish school, but he's like
yeah,
right now doing YouTube, all of that fun stuff. But I don't know. I mean, education is still important. You should still always be
yeah,
learning and keep educating yourself, whether it's like reading the news, like
yeah, I
like
agree.
I don't know. But putting yourself out there after school, or like even if you didn't finish school, is kind of like how that measures your success, I guess.
Mm,
Um, but it feels good to have that degree. Not gonna lie.
yeah, it's good. It's good to you'll always have it to fall back on,
Yeah.
which is nice. But yeah, it is weird where like people, especially watching my brother leave college and then like become a really successful business person. It's always so weird when people find out he's like a college dropout. They like are like kind of weirded out about it. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's important. It's important to always just educate yourself with like whatever you're learning about, whatever it is you want to do, because especially with today's technology, like you could learn anything online, and
Yeah.
as long as you're applying yourself and applying the skills you learn and stuff to whatever you want to do, like you could do whatever you want. Um, but anyway, I know you briefly touched over this, but I want to go back to it. You mentioned your first manager, Quinn, and how she was like the first mentor that you had kind of in the business world. Can you tell me a little bit like what was probably the most important lesson you learned from her, or like skill you learned from her, and how you are currently applying that into your life?
Yeah. I remember she definitely put some fire under my butt when I was like, I was only temporary um sales, and being like 16, 17-year-old little girl, like you have a big number to hit for like, it's a smaller store, but like we had some numbers to compete against, obviously from like the previous years and whatnot. And I remember her telling me like we would look at these numbers like weekly to see if I was like hitting them, and I just wasn't. And she pulled me aside like one day, and we like had a talk, and she kind of just, that was my first like critical critiquing, I guess. I don't really know, but she always taught me to like, I guess, not give up. Obviously, you shouldn't be a quitter, but I ended up getting like point 0.5 positive over my numbers at the time. I don't even remember retail life, to be honest with you. But she told me like if I didn't hit these numbers, obviously I wouldn't be hired part time, full time. And I ended up getting it. She is the reason why I like stepped out of my comfort level in terms of
Mm,
just like customer service and putting yourself out there. And I don't know, she always just taught me that, because she grew up in business like since she was little, because her family owned a smaller shop, and she pretty much said like customer service and sales is gonna get you through life.
yeah.
And she's not wrong, because when I was being interviewed for my current internship right now, it was for like a marketing position. But the reason why, it was supposed to be a full-time marketing position internship, but I couldn't work full-time unpaid, and she ended up working with me. She hired me on the spot, and she was like, if you ended up getting hired with us full time, like paid, like you'll probably be doing marketing and sales. Like I can see that's in your background. So that's where I'm kind of talking about. Like it's been in my blood since I was a teenager. So
Yeah,
sales
and I think
at the end of the day.
yeah.
um, but
And I
yeah,
and I think also like for us, like as like kids, like we were both very timid kids, and as we got older, I feel like we
very
like
stressful.
forced ourselves and now can like talk up a room probably if we needed to. But I think that's also something that
But putting yourself out there is a different situation when you're trying to
yeah,
like do yourself, I guess.
yeah. And I think it's also just like so important to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, because I learned so much doing like retail, like doing the selling the experience. I like the first time I did it, I was like, this is so uncomfortable. Like I don't like this. I feel like I'm shoving my like words down their throat and they don't want to talk to me. But then at the end of the day, like I actually had some really awesome conversations with some people, and like a lot of people had super cool stories. So I think just putting yourself like outside of your comfort zone and then learning from like what you're uncomfortable with, like that's one of the best ways to move yourself forward and kind of strengthen your skills.
I remember doing it for my first time too, and it felt really uncomfortable, totally not natural. She would be watching me when like the customer would walk through the door, and I would bring up stuff like the weather or something like really stupid
Yeah.
to get the conversation going. But as time went on, she can tell that everything just came natural, just like a conversation you're talking to a friend, and that's how it should be. And that's how I feel like I just talk to anyone now when it comes down to just like selling. Like I said, I at the spa part-time, and that's like commission based too, but
Yeah.
I see those people every day that like to the point where we're just talking as friends and they learn to trust you, and that's
Yeah.
where that all just like comes from.
That's where the sales comes from. Um, so moving on from like your first kind of career type things. So I kind of wanted to backtrack a little bit. Well, I guess not backtrack, fast track flash forward. I don't know the word for that. But
Forward.
fast forward, fast forward to like the creation of your blog and like starting that and like what made you start it and like how have you like gotten jobs with it or like because you kind of like been posting on it since like forever ago, so like what are the things you post and like what made you start it and like what do you hope for your website?
Yeah. Um, so I started my website when I first was a freshman. I was taking a lot of fashion, obviously business classes, and like classes because you had to take some of those for like prerequisites for like other business classes and marketing classes. But when you're at an art focused school, you are surrounded by so many creative people, and they're always just like trying to collaborate and just like want more. And I think that's what pushed me to be like where I am today too. But I started my website as a portfolio. I was like helping styling. I was gonna put like some of my schoolwork on there, some of my marketing work on there, and then someone like addressed the situation to me and was like, "Hey, this is when blogging just became like a real thing at the time, and it kind of sucks now because it's super saturated, and there's just like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like everyone is an influencer or a blogger nowadays, and it just like kind of sucks when you're starting off pretty small as like I was like 18, 19, and started writing, and I didn't really know what to write about. I was kind of all over the place, but I was still trying to like figure out my name, figure out my brand, and it's definitely evolved since I started. And I've like moved platforms, and I was interning for like a full-time blogger, and it was just I learned a lot in the last like 4 or 5 years itself that my portfolio turned into like my so-called like blog. So now it holds like I focus on like fashion. I'm like a like to know it affiliate. I write posts on travel. Like I haven't traveled as much as you, but I've like created like some sort of travel guides, anything like lifestyle tips, anything like wellness. So it's a little bit of everything just to like outsource my, I don't know,
Brain.
creativity and like throw it on the computer. Yeah, my brain. And just share that. I don't know, it's fun for me. And like I don't have time for it as much right now, even though I thought I would have more time for it after school because between all like the homework and the working. But right now I'm just really focused on like this internship, and I know it's like unpaid, but I'm just trying to show her that I'm giving my all. Like I literally started scratch from the ground up because it's a startup, but I'll get more into that like later on. But my portfolio turned into a blog essentially, and I was starting on Squarespace, and then I moved it to WordPress.com. Essentially, you're supposed to gain more SEO engagement if you are on WordPress. .com and .org are completely different kinds of websites and serve different kind of services. Eventually, I would like to start making some sort of commission and like income
Yeah.
from my blog, but right now my main focus is just to keep posting on it. And I know it takes time, and I've definitely talked to a bunch of like I've mentored with influencers and bloggers, and it just takes time. They started when blogging wasn't even a thing, so things like worked better in their favor because they had more content out there, and they like now know what the game is, and they started doing that full time as their jobs and quit their 9 to 5s like way before everyone considered themselves to be
Tried
like
doing it. Yeah.
a blogger. I know that I'm probably one of the only people out of my group of friends. They all started a blog website too when we all started school, but as a portfolio, everyone else tried to grow it into a blog, but I'm the only person who I feel like who's been consistent with like posting out there, and I have gotten like collaborations. I've gotten like free stuff. I'm still trying to work
Yeah.
on like clothes. Like I've gotten like swimwear. I literally just got like cold brew coffees the other day to promote.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of like healthcare, skincare, all random stuff. My end goal is obviously to promote clothes because
Yeah.
that's what I went to school for and like my most passion and like in interest in. I am affiliates for some companies. They're like smaller boutiques, but I haven't like it's not free clothes, it's just like discounted clothes. And
Yeah.
hey, ambassador, just like promote us and you'll get some sort of percentage, and then everyone gets like some sort of code. My end goal of it obviously is to make this part-time. I don't want to be full-time because I went to school not to be a full-time blogger. So I've had a lot of, I guess, dream jobs in the back of my mind. Like when you start from freshman year to senior year, I'm not a different person, but I just evolved and like I like different things. I thought I wanted to be like a stylist. I thought I wanted to be a buyer. Buying is not what you think it is. It is all math and analytics. It is not just fun and games shopping. Didn't want to do that. Took a buying class. That sucked. Want to do. I thought I wanted to be like a creative director, but that's more like art focused. Someone asked me today, my boss asked me today what my dream job is, and I couldn't really like have an answer for her, but I think like right now where I stand is like content creator. I don't know, feel like I'm good at making things look pretty and look better, and the fact that that's a job, which is cool. But I started my blog just as like a creative outlet. I want to be able to pursue that and just push fashion and be able to like make some sort of like side income with that. But I know with time, it'll grow, and like everything else, like consistency and just time is all it takes. I mean, I know that there's like some sort of strategy and game to be able to like gain those followers and audience, but I don't have time for that right now, to be honest. I'm just trying to get a full-time job, not in corporate America. I like where I am right now, but my blog has for sure helped me like keep my creativity flowing over the past 4 years, even though I have been like in school and working. So that's where I am with that.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned like how your like dream job has evolved, but I feel like that comes with like all the internships and jobs you work. Like what I went into the business world thinking I was gonna do accounting and finance, and I was like, what the fuck? Like absolutely not. Like and so I think it's so important that like in order to know what your dream job is, like no one actually knows what their dream job is until they're actually doing it and like are happy doing it. Because you don't know unless you try, and I think that's a good thing with like both of us. We tried a lot of different things and figured out like what we liked and what we don't like, and we're able to learn from that. So I think that's so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about like all the internships and like everything you've. Oh wait, no. Backtrack. When it comes to like your collaborations, like with like brands or people and like stylists and all those people, like how do you go about like making those collaborations happen? Like, do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you, or is it kind of like a group effort to kind of bring up this like one thing? Like how does that kind of look like?
It's kind of a little bit of everything. Most of the time they have found me in terms of clothing. I was the one who's like reached out to them. There's a lot of like boutiques, smaller boutiques, and like clothing websites where you can like sign up to be like an ambassador, an affiliate with them. And that's where you kind of have to start. I have a media kit just because I understand like how the influencer blogging industry kind of works. Like, hey, these are the services I do, and this is what I'll do for you if you give this in exchange to me. But I learned that through just like mentors and just like being an assistant for an influencer. All of my products and stuff that I've collabed with, like that was all free sent to me. You obviously have to like reach deadlines and whatever and like post a certain amount for some certain products, but in terms of clothes, like you kind of just have to put yourself out there and email brands. I haven't gotten free clothes yet. That's like the goal, like I said, but you just
Yeah.
have to keep reaching out to them and just be like, hey, these are my followers, this is my audience, this is my engagement, like
Mm.
just put yourself out there, like this is what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I haven't reached out to anyone in a while. I probably should, but it's kind of like a little bit of both. In terms of like styling, it's more so like just friends and friends of friends that are like looking to create. And I've mostly done styling, and I found a lot of like locations for it. So I guess I kind of like creative directed, art directed the entire most of my shoots, but that's what I thought I wanted to go into. It's pretty fun, but I don't really know how to go about that in terms of like making that a career because I
Yeah.
feel like I've been all over the place with like all of my jobs and internships, but
But I
that's
think
how.
that's like one of the like the strengths you have is that you have all this knowledge from all these different areas and like can bring that to wherever you plan to go next.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so cool that I think also when it comes to even just like collaborating and even like when it comes down to life, like every yes comes with like a billion no's. So like the fact that you were reaching out to these companies and didn't always hear back right away or heard back later on or something. Like I think especially for people in the online space that yeah, like it's so saturated now that maybe people won't always say yes, but there will be like that one or two or three companies that will work with you and kind of work with you as you evolve. And that's something that grows with you too. Like as you grow, the more you'll be able to get. So
Everything is always time and consistency, and
yeah.
I've learned that the hard way. But um, it's pretty fun. I mean, I learned a lot over the last just like 2 3 years itself with people that I've like worked under, and they just everyone keeps telling me to keep doing what I'm doing. Like the numbers will show, like the growth in the audience will show, just like keep taking your time. Like anything in life, you just have to be
Mm,
consistent, whether it's like
yeah.
working out, like eating right, like just getting by. You have to be consistent with like friends,
Yeah.
family, your life goals, whatever. Consistency is always key, and like they don't mess around when they say that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously. Consistency, man. um, but yeah, going into your internships because I know you've worked a lot of like also unpaid ones. Um, Can you just speak a little bit to all the internships you've worked and how, like, I know, like, sometimes being unpaid during as an intern is like okay, and the things you've learned and the things you're able to take with you as you move like to the next career and the next career. But yes, just some of the things you learned and what you kind of gained from those like paid internships and also unpaid internships.
Yeah. So like the long story short, I started at and I was reaching out to everyone. I remember like moving in my sophomore year of with all my really good friends at the time, and we're on the same track, like we were trying to find internships. We were just about to be sophomores. We just moved into our first apartment. Like we were just trying to get by. I remember teachers being like, email these people, like just keep reaching out. And for some reason, my one teacher who I like, we both made really good connections from each other. He owned like a bridal boutique, like for accessories and shoes. And he was like, bridal stores are always looking for assistants or whatever of that sort. And I reached out to, I think like five, and only one or two answered back to me. And I ended up getting an internship as a marketing intern and like working under a stylist. So basically like a consultant. I forgot what they were called at the time, but it was a smaller boutique. It was luxury bridal. It was a way different realm of like what I kind of wanted to do with fashion, but it was cool just because I got to like try all these dresses on, be
Yeah.
a princess for a little bit of the day, help all these brides find their dream dress, and that was just cool just because it was a smaller boutique. Got to see the ins and outs of what it's like to run your own company, how you like upcharge people, how that's where like service like where my sales stemmed off from, because that's when I finally left Maurice's. I remember because I was seasonal with them when I graduated college. So I was only, when I was home, I was working for them. When I was not home, I wasn't doing anything. And I was like, it's about time to start getting paid. But again, this internship was unpaid and it was social media and a little bit of sales. I feel like my hours with them were like way over more than what I should have given them because it was unpaid. I know that now. But that's where the customer service really came in handy just because it was luxury. You were like talking to people who are willing to spend like from $5,000 to $10,000 on a dress. And it was just insane how your customer service has to be like on par with these people. I ended up getting hired with them pretty much like full time because it was like summertime. They were paying me at the time. And then I ended up working for them like a year, left for study abroad, came back, and I was like, cool, I need a game plan because had no money after blowing off all that expenses in Europe. So
yeah, neither did I, don't worry. Literally so much credit card debt.
I came back, it was embarrassing. I was just trying to find a job at that point, not even an internship. Worked for Express for like maybe 2 months. No, I worked there longer, but it was just like funny because I needed some income while I came back
And
from school.
they give you good discounts, honestly, Express does.
But those were the end of my retail days. I really, really hate retail. I give props to people who manage and work in retail right now. That's not part of the industry that I want to work for. Went to Express, ended up applying to, this is where like the blogging part came in. I was an intern again. That sucked. So I was interning for this blogger. She kind of taught me everything that I needed to know about the industry. There's still stuff that I don't do that I need to do in order to grow, but she was a great mentor. It was unpaid, and then I started working for Export part-time. I knew that working for a gym would be flexible with my hours, so I was with them for a while, and this is where like more sales came in, and then I ended up finishing with her and then working for an internship at Modern Luxury Magazine for Chicago Social. I was an unpaid intern again. Really big shocker. I just kept taking unpaid internships left and right and working part-time and in school. Sorry, I'm trying to work out right now. You can cut that off. Where was I? I worked for a magazine as an intern and a public relations intern and marketing. It was kind of insane because it was a summer internship. It was super fun. It was around Chicago. Like, got to go all these really cool events, these fashion shows, like meeting people left and right. And there was 10 interns. It was insane. So we barely had work to do because there were so many of us. And I just used as much like of my time to be efficient and to stand out. And I remember like I got to do like behind the scenes like cover shoot with like Chicago Cubs player. I met a bunch of influencers along the way, and I still keep in touch with them, and I do freelance stuff for them right now. People address this to me that I should probably start like my own like freelance like marketing social media business. It's been in the back of my mind, like it's a cool service to like promote. I feel like a lot of people do it, but I don't know. Still in the back of my mind. I mean, I do it as like a side hustle right now. And after that internship, I was in public relations with a finally paid internship.
Yay!
I was for it because girl wanted the free membership, to be honest with you. So this is already senior year, like fast forward to all these like unpaid internships, working part-time, still in school. Like, I can't believe I'm still doing this right now, but paid internship, they paid me really well. Unfortunately, things didn't work out with them because they didn't have an entry-level job. They were hiring for executive level, and it was a boutique-style agency, so like literally a team of 15 to 20 people. I learned that there was a pattern going on that I just liked people around like the startup boutique size like company. You learn a lot when you do working with these people one-on-one because you're learning from every little aspect of the company. And I think that's what like sets me apart from like my skills from everyone else, because I worked from along the lines of like blogging, a magazine, like bridal boutique, like literally everything you can think of. It still falls along the lines of marketing because you're branding always and trying to stay to that market. So that didn't work out, unfortunately. I was panicking because this was like the week of graduation when I found out, or like 2 weeks before graduation.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I was already like freaking out because in the back of my mind, like I'm someone as a person to always have a plan. And that's when for the first time in my life, I didn't have a plan. I was applying to jobs like a maniac, even if it was like jobs like, I don't even remember what I applied to, but I applied to like probably 10 jobs within like 7 days, and it was insane.
Yeah.
And then the reason why I'm at this startup right now is because she spoke to us in class. And I was recommended from my teacher to go ahead and talk to this lady. Her name's Lisa Bubes. So this tech startup, it was called Curate. It's now, we're transitioning to Garmentier. It's basically a platform for personal stylists to use. It's really cool, actually, and it was really intriguing at the time when she had spoken to me. It was like 2 weeks that I finally reached out to her. Ended up interviewing with her on the spot. She hired me. She was supposed to be full-time. I'm only part-time with her because I'm still part-time at the gym because I need to make money somehow. So she works around my schedule, which is awesome. I've been doing that since May. And it's basically just like a website and an app to help personal stylists like keep their clientele organized. You can also put wardrobes together in the app. You can talk to we talked to them for you, but like you can create customized clothing for like men. So it's a little bit of everything. It's pretty cool just because the only thing she had going for her was Instagram. So I've created and like implemented newsletters and have like done these marketing advertisements, and like we're starting to finally like launch the entire company, and I've just seen it from the ground up. We have meetings with like affiliates or like partnerships for retailers, because essentially the goal of the company is to use this platform and have these independent personal stylists and personal shoppers like get commission from these stores that don't give these people commission. It's kind of a confusing concept if you're like not really in the fashion industry or like really into that, but these people work hard to make all these like lawyers and just like corporate business people look good. And it's insane when we go on like shopping trips that like these people don't have budgets, and like they just you can dress them and make them feel good. So my day-to-day like tasks are always different. Like we're shopping, we're like some days I'm like staring at my computer for hours making marketing plans. Like today I created a whole like gallery or portfolio for her to use for her clients to show as like an inspo board. I've been working on that for like 2-3 weeks. So essentially I've been working all these hours unpaid, but I'm learning so much just from like being at a startup right now. It's a really cool concept. By the looks of it, I'll have a full-time job hopefully by next month, because my boss told me that we should celebrate soon, that it'll be my last internship ever. I think that was like the 5th one already. Yeah. But we always joke around how like you'll be an intern for the rest of your life. That's what it feels like sometimes. Because she left her job at Trunk Club as a stylist to be her own like robust
than they
CEO.
were. Yeah.
So going with the theme of whatever you're trying to promote here, it's really cool to be a part of women who have such a small idea and are able to put that idea and like bring it to life. So essentially, like, I would like to be full time with her, and she wants to be able to promote this across like the United States. We're already talking to people in California and New York City, and I think like Texas right now. Probably should not be sharing this information, so we can cut that. But she wants to grow the styling community and be able to help all these people with their small businesses as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So that's where I am right now. It's really scary not knowing if I'm going to have like health insurance one of these days or something stupid adult like that needs to be done in the next like 3 to 5 years because yeah.
But I feel like when it comes down to it, like no one actually knows what their next steps are. Like even people who have full-time jobs are like, well, what's after this? Like no one knows. So yeah, it's so cool that you were able to work all these internships and learn so many things from all these different mentors that you had, like from all different sides of the spectrum. So that's like so awesome. But do you have any advice for someone who's like in college right now, like figuring out life, getting internships, unpaid internships? Like, what's the biggest advice you could give someone that was like once at a point in your life where you were in college, like looking for jobs and careers and go like side hustling? Is there anything you would give as advice?
I feel like it's so cliche to say this, but just like keep hustling and don't give up on yourself because putting yourself in these situations now will put you like 5 years ahead in life. That's something that my current boss, Lisa, addressed to me today. She's actually someone who I truly, truly, truly look up to, and it's probably because like I've had such close relationships from being a part of in these small businesses, but you learn so much when you're in these smaller businesses. And honestly, like you promote this all the time, like you don't want to be part of corporate America.
Yeah.
Like it would be really cool to be like my own boss, but at the same time, like I like having a schedule too.
Yeah.
Even though it's not like an every day-to-day schedule, um, it's just important to keep hustling and keep going just because I don't know, our parents migrated to America,
Yeah.
and the whole point of doing that is to live the freaking American dream and just like follow your heart and follow your goals. And eventually, it doesn't feel like that right now, but hopefully, I'll get there. Keep hustling because it'll be worth it, even though there's like sleepless nights of like wanting to cry and doing all your homework and still having to work. Yeah. Just keep hustling.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like when it comes down to it, like at the end of the day, the people who are like 5 steps ahead of life are the people that are just like going out there and just figuring out life like one day at a time. Even though it sounds so lame, but like I feel like the people that are actually like trying things outside of their comfort zone. But anyway, tell people where they could find you, like your website, where they could reach you, and then we could call it.
Um, so I, yeah, follow me on my Instagram page at Bree Quiachon, and then my website's also breequiachon.com. People are always reaching out to me surprisingly for like little pieces of advice. I'm pretty surprised about that, but don't be afraid to network and just keep. My biggest piece of advice would be keep hustling. Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable with change, and always keep an open network because you'll never know who you're gonna meet. But
Yeah.
don't be afraid to reach out.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being here. I was so excited to have you. It's really noisy in here now, but yeah, thanks.
Thanks for having me.
All right.